Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here for checking out the series. You know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I'm so excited. Troy Sanders of Mastodon is here. Hello.
You're a busy person. Three
I
interviews a week. Woo!
try to stay busy, but I
Man,
get to speak to fine people like you, so no complaints. How you doing?
I'm good. We just finished about 7 weeks on the road, so I'm 3 days into reacclimating to home life, which is great.
Yeah, I thought the timing was actually kind of funny on my end. I had Randy from Lamb of God either the day or the day before the tour started, and now here we are with you. It's a nice bookend that you. So for anyone who doesn't know, you all were on tour with Lamb of God. You were both celebrating your 2004 albums, Leviathan and Ashes of the Wake, which those package tours, especially when you can lock it up like that. I mean, that for fans, that was a really special thing.
Yeah, it was something we've been talking about for years, and now that it's over, it was really powerful. The co-headline thing has worked really well for us the past 5 or 6 years. Um, yeah, man, it's solid. It was fantastic. We've been friends with the Lamb of God guys for 20 plus years, and we have so much mutual respect for one another and appreciation and friendship, most importantly. So it was a great one. It was a long one, but a great one.
Yeah, as you're saying, those tours and everything. I mean, musicians these days, you have to be crafty. Everybody's like, well, I saw one of the memes, like, learning that you have to be a content creator as well as a musician. And, you got the guy rubbing his face like this and everything. But to have the opportunity, I mean, you put in the work, they've put in the work, like those, as you say, those co-headlining bills, that must make, I would assume that makes everything at least a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's more of teamwork. It's like no matter who plays before that, the closer, or if it rotates like we've done in the past, that's not really the issue. It's more of the bigger and better with numbers and like just joining forces. It's never like competition. It's always more of a, hey man, I really appreciate what you guys do, and vice versa. And it's
Mhm.
just the whole idea that everybody in a band who sacrifices everything to go try to make it work for themselves. It's when we played with hundreds of bands over the years, and I always have felt like once you are cut from that cloth, like you're all in the same boat, so to speak, and we're all traveling trying to do the same things for the greater good of music and for all the right reasons. So no difference with what we just did with Lamb of God. It was celebrating 2 records that changed each of our band's careers, but it was a damn good time doing it. And a lot of people showed up, and the shows were great. The energy was magical, and here I am at home,
Here
all
you are at
done,
home, made it through. I
made
do
it.
think, I mean, it's funny to look back and think about, because you hinted on it there for a minute, like in the past where artists would be competitive, and some of that was, especially if you were women, they were pitted against each other by press, by labels and everything, but even by band, by any band, like there in the past, you would hear a little bit about that competition. That seems to have like left a long time ago. It's like we can't be messing with it. Like everybody's doing this, as you say. Like we're all in this together,
Yeah, that's
for
how
the
it's.
cliche, phrase there.
Yeah, that's always been our attitude and outlook. It's never been about. I mean, I think if it was going to be competitive, we would probably be playing a different type of music when we started. So it's more like, wow, you're kind of trying to, create your own unique path, and so are we. And ultimately, it's about putting in the hard work, especially up front. You know, it was 5 years of sleeping on floors and playing anywhere that people would let us play, whether it was a kitchen, a basement, a VHF hall, a boat shed, a dive bar, you name it. If we were allowed to play there, we'd play there. So um, the tour that we just wrapped up, and I'm still kind of in that headspace, celebrating what we did, the records 20 years ago that brought us from dive bars to actual venues. So yeah, it was a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
love the Lamb of God guys.
Sticking around because in a second we're going to jump to Crack the Skye for its 15th and this beautiful version that you all have just released. But
All
kind of
right.
building into that though, it's like when I look back, it's like how perfectly timed that you were a part of making it perfectly timed for heavy music to have landed where it did in the late 90s into the early 2000s, getting into the more prog style of heavy music that you guys were definitely doing, that Tool was doing, that Coheed and Cambria were, it was just like to be a part of that. We had seen the heavy scenes of the 70s and 80s, but when you look back, I don't know the actual question here, but does anything really surface in your memory about just what was happening? Because I bet there were pop stations playing some of the stuff, to a certain degree. Like it was everywhere.
Are you talking about like what the four of us in Mastodon, what our outlook was at the time?
Yeah, because you were suddenly, as you said, you were on the floor, but now when it hits, like there was, and not to eye roll the big phrase here, there was a scene happening. Like it was there, it was everywhere.
Yeah. I would chalk it up to a combined energy of taking chances and being bold and not being afraid to distance ourselves from all the bands we were on tour with at the time of the early 2000s, as well as executing it, looking back, executing it quite well, and like fortunate circumstances, because it wasn't just talent and it wasn't just good luck. It was a combo, of working hard and getting opportunities and making it work. With Leviathan in 2004, we wanted to step out and try to do a conceptual record based on the story of Moby Dick. And our band was very small at the time, but it easily could have, killed our band if it didn't work out right. Thankfully, it went the opposite way, and we were able to create lyrical themes and art and imagery wise, with the help of Paul Romano, our awesome album artist, really create combine the visuals with the lyrical stories, all tied into the Moby Dick story from top to bottom. And thankfully we made it work, and it was very well received. And it took us from, the VHF halls to actual proper tours and venues. So yeah, it was a risk, but if you truly believe in something, and if the four guys in your band share the same energy and the same enthusiasm, there's no reason to not give it a go.
Yeah. And look what it did where it launched you guys in the projection, because as we're talking about Crack the Skye, I mean, suddenly you all can pull off concept albums. I was, a friend popped into my office earlier and I was talking about, was about to do this interview, and we were talking about Crack the Skye. And he said, "Which one's that?" And I said, "Oh, there's this paraplegic and astral projection, and there's Rasputin." And suddenly, as I'm saying, it's like, God, this is fucking bonkers. I've known this story forever, but I don't think I've ever said it out loud to explain it to someone. Like,
yeah,
to have tapped into what you all did, like, how do you go from Moby Dick to whatever Crack the Skye ends up being?
I feel the same way when I remember trying to explain the storyline. It just sounds insane. But I always think of when you watch a bizarre drama or a horror flick or something, and then you think like 2 years prior in the writing room, someone was pitching this idea,
Right.
And it was insanity. But often, again, if done right, and a lot of it comes with luck, you can pull it off. But I think with Crack the Skye, the storyline was one thing; it was out there. But most importantly, I think the music was the obvious factor which backed up that record and propelled it to becoming our, besides Leviathan, Crack the Skye is the other, fan favorite, and that launched us to the next level of our career as well. So, bizarre storyline, tapping in with many, many personal subject matters amongst the bandmates. Yeah, thankfully it worked.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's the other trick, right? Because it's personal stories masked, or whatever, behind this incredible other big, fantastical story.
Yeah.
Like that's where, because I think you could just, word soup some stuff and then connect the dots later. But then for that stuff to actually mean more than just the story on the page, like, man, those layers, that's all
Yeah,
the greatest stuff, right? The greatest stuff has the layers.
I agree, and I think that was because when this idea of the conceptual idea of Crack the Skye, just like Leviathan, all four of us in the band, we were fully on board. We were all in. So I think every time someone contributes something, whether it's a riff or more importantly, a lyrical, a phrase or a chorus or whatever it is, we're all on the same page and we're all going for it. And there's no apprehension of like, those two guys want to do this story. I think it's ridiculous. It would impede on your energy going into it. And with something like Crack the Skye, it definitely, um, to many degrees, took all four of us to be unified, to dive in and be all in and create that, um, which I think helped give it the strength that it had to make an impact.
Watching the making of it and hearing you all talk about how, you know, I think what you said was you wanted to make a classic rock record, and you were saying classic rock record, not a classic rock record, but a classic rock record.
Right.
You know, what's the other quote? We're a different band. We're becoming a different band. Like to notice that in that moment, it seems really special. Did it, was it a big leap musically for you all to be able to do that?
Yeah, because the music was coming out on next level stuff, and majority of the stuff was written by our guitar player Brent Hines, and then he would bring things in, and we would collaborate. Everyone chipped in and wrote different pieces, but it was kind of like something special was happening, something different, and it was obviously a change of direction from the previous 9 years of our band. We were wanting to explore cleaner lyrics, but more importantly, besides being clean, we wanted to include melody lyrically, because the first couple records we were just so angry. We were in a van, just having a great time, but the ferocity was all that we knew.
Mhm.
So everything was very aggressive, over the top. And when you tour constantly, sometimes you would like to exercise some other options and not just be resort to aggressive vocals and screaming 150 nights of the year. So it was definitely growth, musically, lyrically, and vocally. So the whole package was trying to mature, I guess. But that's fair after a solid, nearly 10 years of a band. But yeah, we could feel the change happening, and that's the direction we wanted to go. And I still, every record to a certain level, we're always trying to change it up, go a different direction, try something, grow, evolve. The four of us have never had any desire to be complacent and just be like, hey, this record sounds just like the last one, and that's cool. Like it's just never been. We've always wanted to do more than that for ourselves, and every record we've done has always been for ourselves. It's a lot of people don't realize that art, in my opinion, should be selfish. You need to love it and you need to be enthusiastic with what you're doing. And when you share that energy with three or four other people, it's pretty damn special and it's rare. So I love the idea of challenging ourselves in all aspects, all facets of being in a band, not
Does
being
it,
afraid to take a risk, and step outside your comfort zone in your box and try something different. And at the end of the day, if the four of us are stoked on it, that's all that matters. If it's not very well received to the world, we didn't intend on trying to please everybody. Really, we're the ones that live with it. And once you create music, it lives forever. So the more proud that we can be as a unit of what we're doing, that just makes all the sense in the world. That's all we really care about.
and if it's great, you get the fun journey of a record that people sleep on at first, or they don't hear, right, because they've got their own expectations, and then 5, 10 years later, they're like, "That's my favorite record now." That's
Dude, how many people's favorite records are growers and not showers? It's like, yeah, it took me a while. Now I absolutely love it. Um, as opposed to, but if it's super accessible and you love it on first listen, that's great. But because of the layers and the complexity of parts and odd time signatures here and there, it's not such a, listen once and be like, oh, I understand all of it. And you either like it or you don't, and that's fine. But yeah, sometimes it's like a slow cooker, it's gonna reveal itself. Aroma, it's gonna kick in, it's gonna fill the house. You're gonna get hungry, and then you're gonna eat it, and you're gonna love it.
yeah. Well, and for a record like Crack the Skye, which again, you guys did the 50th anniversary of this, and all the goodies that come along with that, not just the making of, but that movie, like as we're talking here about, you know, there's so much to take in. Maybe you don't get on the first, but if you saw you guys live and this silent film is playing behind you, full-length silent film, beautifully made, and the opportunity of that experience to take in this album that otherwise, you've sort of got to connect a lot of the dots, with the old brain box there.
Yeah.
But that movie, that like that's such heavy lifting that you don't have to do. But as a group, as a company, even to kind of produce something like that. I mean, have you watched it lately? Have you seen it?
No. And then, and then we did a 10th anniversary tour, co-headlining with Coheed and Cambria, where we pulled out Crack the Skye, did it top to bottom again with the movie behind us. But damn it, I never turned around on stage and watched the movie like I should. So no, I haven't seen those visuals in quite a while, or I haven't even put eyes on it in 5 years minimum. So
Yeah, let me just tell you, it's really cool. Just that's my easy review right there. Man, it is really cool. That whole thing. I just put it on, as doing this and just thinking that it was going to be something I keep on to the side, as I'm doing a little research and end up just watching the whole thing. Like,
love
because
it.
what it reminded me of, um, you know, pre everything is available on the internet when, you'd be handed something by somebody, in the 80s, early 90s, something like that, something that just didn't exist everywhere that felt a little dangerous and a little
Yeah,
scary. Like there's something about that movie and a lot of the stuff that you all do, like you're able to tap into that in a time where that's unheard of you know, that little
yeah,
video that you would get, Faces of Death or whatever it is, like
right, right.
it's just like that's it reminded me of that feeling, which was really cool to revisit.
Good. That's great to hear. That's a perfect compliment. We do pay attention to visuals are huge to us, whether it be album artwork, our backdrops on stage, or the visuals that we create. It's the whole package. It always has been with us. That's why the idea of vinyl has been huge for us.
Again, I just love that the work that you put all in on this. And beyond that, I mean, you have these amazing packages and the way you guys keep it fun, even the stuff lately, the commemorative plate, the tiki mugs, the coffee.
Yeah,
Is this something that you all get to dream up as a group? They get, it's going to be really funny, or does somebody pitch
yeah.
this stuff to you?
No, it's all silly ideas that we have that we're not afraid to show who we are as people, and I think that slowly started coming out. I mean, you could see it on like the making of records when we would document and put DVDs with the CDs and stuff. We've always taken the music quite seriously, the subject matter, the art, like everything. But outside of that, the four of us we're a bunch of goofballs. So we're not afraid to show our personal side. We're not afraid to reveal things lyrically and subject matter wise through the art that we call Mastodon. So if we have a funny skit that we want to try to mock ourselves or just for fun or all the things that we've done, that's just a reflection of our actual personalities. And we're all huge fans of comedy.
Mhm.
So, I mean, everyone can use a laugh.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more fun. Even down to the like when you guys did Feist's A Commotion. I love Feist.
Yeah,
Love
me
having
too.
her on the show. That little trade-off right there. I mean, again, to say like take the music seriously, but also know when to have some fun with it. That's probably one. I mean, I don't mean this. I know it's a cover. It's still one of my favorite things that you guys have ever been a part of.
Love it. We do too, because that was when that idea came about, it was like the band Feist is very different from us, but we loved their music, and it was really we met them and we thought it would be a fantastic idea. And a lot of times you say we got to collaborate, and it's like, yeah, we'll do it. We'll start a band together and all that stuff. Very rarely does it actually manifest into reality.
Mhm.
And when they did our song, we loved it, and then when we did their song, we loved it. Had a great time doing it. So again, just take a risk, do something cool, give it a shot. Worst
Yeah.
case scenario, it's just you can shelf it or forget about it. So
Nobody has to know.
yeah, go for it. Have some fun and try do cool stuff,
Great.
basically, or at least
So
try.
for the risks that you've taken, 25 years or whatever, and for every album to be different in its own way and special. You're coming off the double album with Hushed and Grand. Like, does that add any kind of pressure though when you're like, what's the next album got to be? Like, sure you can dream it up, but there's a little bit of expectation for you guys that something about it's going to be different and special.
Right. Thankfully, we don't really. we don't really sit down. Nothing is really preconceived as far as musically. Whatever riffs are happening with people in the band, those come to the forefront, and if we like it, then we dig in on it and we try to get it to a spot where it can become hopefully a good song. The storyline, if we decide to have one on the next album, that will come if someone brings in an idea like, "Hey guys, I've been thinking about this thing. What do you think of da da da?" And just and if it sounds interesting, compelling, then we'll dig in and give it a go maybe. But at this moment, we just wrapped up like 3 years of touring on Hushed and Grim, so we're excited to dig into some new music. That's for damn sure. But nothing is written in blood or set in stone. But also nothing is off limits. If someone comes and says, "What do you think of this, guys? Just hear me out." And if it sounds interesting and unique and potentially fun to pursue, then we're in. We never really think like, hey, the last record was long. It was good. It was long and dark, and the subject matter was really, sad. And so we need to do something different. Well, we're going to do something different anyway. But we're not going to do anything just to try to please our fan base. We're not going to do anything to purposely try to appeal to a new fan base or anything like that. It's like we've always just felt confident in whatever we do. People will see through it as authentic, and whether they like it or not it's not in our hands anyway. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'm excited to dig into new stuff with these guys. We've got a lot of loose demos that we've been collecting over the years of touring. So now that we're home, I'm excited to call the guys here in a few days after everyone reacclimates to home after a 7-week tour and be like, "Hey, what's happening? How you feeling? You want to dig in?
Yeah.
You ready? You guys ready?" So
do you think, projecting a little bit here, do you think having just spent all this time in the past few weeks with Leviathan, with your every night with your head back there in 2004, you think that has any influence on positive or opposites from where you go musically?
it's a good question. I mean, we were proud to play that record every night for the past month and a half. It didn't feel like simply nostalgia. It felt like, hey, this is a cool record. We know what it did for us. A lot of people love it. There's tons of people out there enjoying it as we're playing it live. So it was awesome. It's very possible that some of that ferocity and some of those quick riffs will be like, hey, this is fun to play. It's very fun to play. So I wouldn't be surprised if some Leviathan creeps in, but it's still in the early stages,
Too early, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. Louder Than Life, you're going to be here in Louisville. I was just looking at that lineup that day. Motley Crue, Falling in Reverse, Dropkick Murphys, Filter, Disturbed, Local H, Body Count, 3-6 Mafia. It's gonna be a fun one.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
I love it. We always have a good time in Louisville. So yeah, I'm glad these festivals are kicking ass and super healthy and awesome attendance. And so yeah, when we got the offer, we were stoked to come back. This will be our 5th or 6th time doing the Louisville Fest. So I can't wait.
Yeah, glad to have you. All right, Troy, thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. 15th anniversary of Crack the Skye out. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.